Hello there, I'm Anita Wu. You're watching Nightline. The top stories today. Istana Negara dismisses Guardian's royal coup editorial as misleading. And government issues blanket ban on all cruise ships over rising COVID-19 cases. Northern Italy quarantines 16 million people over COVID-19 fears. Our opening story. Istana Negara has dismissed an editorial published on March 3rd by The Guardian as inaccurate and misleading. This as the UK-based media outlet had employed a highly partisan slant in its article entitled The Guardian View on a Royal Coup, a King Overturns a Historic Election. Controller of the royal household of Istana Negara, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, in a statement on Sunday said he was appalled by the misleading tone of the British Daily's editorial, given the fact that the subject matter, Malaysia's parliamentary democracy, is based on the Westminster system. He added the editorial presented a distorted account of the process of how the king appointed a new prime minister, and by no means could this process be regarded as a royal coup, as questionably asserted by The Guardian. Dato' Ahmad Fadil also clarified that His Majesty is bound by Article 43 of the Federal Constitution to select and appoint a new Prime Minister following the resignation of Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad and his cabinet on February 24th. Therefore, the King is obligated to exercise his discretion in appointing a Member of Parliament whom, in his judgment, commands the confidence of the majority in the Dewan Rakyat as Prime Minister. Dato' Ahmad Fadil said only after the rigorous and open process of consultation in accordance with the Federal Constitution had the King exercised his discretion to appoint Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as the new Prime Minister. Former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said he may only consider meeting Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin if the latter agrees not to work with corrupt UMNO members. Tun Dr. Mahathir said it was difficult to make peace with Tan Sri Muhyiddin while he was still working with those who have been accused of stealing billions of ringgit.
Saya tak tengok apa sebab saya nak jumpa. Melainkan kalau dia sanggup buang orang itu semua, boleh jumpalah kot. Itu pun saya akan timbang ya.
Tun Dr. Mahathir said this after meeting Bersatu members in Langkawi, Kedah on Sunday. He was commenting on a statement by Bersatu Supreme Council member Wan Saiful Wanjan that Tan Sri Muhyiddin had written to Tun Dr. Mahathir requesting a meeting. Wan Saiful said it was not only him but a majority of party members who are hopeful that both the leaders can come to terms and strengthen the party which they had built together. The government has issued a blanket ban on all cruise ships coming into the country due to the increasing COVID-19 cases, putting further strain on the tourism industry. The immediate ban took effect following instructions from the Health Ministry and Transport Ministry. In a Facebook posting on Saturday, Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said entry and transit of cruise vessels and passengers and crew members require considerable medical resources to be made available at ports for screening and treatment purposes. Thus, during this difficult period, it is vital that more medical resources are concentrated on hospitals to attend to medical emergencies and undertake preventive measures. Whereas the ministry acknowledged that the cruise industry is an important component, it said this temporary measure was necessary. Meanwhile, in view of the decision by the Health Ministry, both the Pulau Pinang Port Commission and the Port Klang Authority issued a circular saying all cruise vessels are temporarily restricted from entering any Malaysian port with immediate effect until further notice. Malaysia joins several countries which has banned cruise ships from entering their ports, including Thailand, the Philippines, Taiwan, Hong Kong and Japan. Meanwhile, 6 new cases of COVID-19 were reported on Sunday, bringing the total number of COVID-19 positive cases in this country to 99. Dr. Noor Hisham said all of the new cases reported comprised close contacts of the cluster linked to the 26th case. He said all the cases were detected and isolated for further treatment, and the close contacts of these cases were being identified for investigation and sampling. Meanwhile, he said the 41st COVID-19 positive case has recovered and is allowed to be discharged from the Kuala Lumpur hospital ward. This brings the tally to 24 cases of those who have fully recovered from COVID-19 and discharged from the ward. Elsewhere in Italy, the government has announced an unprecedented quarantine on its northern region of Lombardy and other badly affected areas on Sunday, impacting some 16 million people, as it steps up efforts to tackle Europe's largest outbreak of COVID-19. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said nobody will be allowed in nor out of Lombardy, where Milan is the capital, and the 10 other areas until April 3rd, although exceptions will be made for reasons of health, professional needs and, quote-unquote, exceptional cases. All museums, cultural centres, cinemas, theatres, schools will be shut in the targeted areas, which is due to come into force starting today. Bars and restaurants will have to make sure patrons keep at least a metre apart, or they have to be shut down. Public gatherings such as weddings, funerals and sports events have also been suspended, and home working should be adopted as much as possible. The draft specifies that failing to respect these measures is a criminal offence and might lead to imprisonment. The Prime Minister's latest effort at damage control comes as cases in the country surged to 5,883 on Saturday, with 233 deaths. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, officials confirmed that 2 more people had tested positive for the coronavirus, taking the total of confirmed cases in the country to 6. One of the Indonesians is a 36-year-old male, a crew member on the Japan-docked Diamond Princess cruise ship, where he contracted the virus. The other Indonesian, a 55-year-old male, contracted the virus locally in Jakarta. Over in South Korea, the country's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has reported more cases of the new coronavirus, bringing the total to 7,134 in the country. The increase in cases was lower than the same period a day before, though health officials have warned that numbers could fluctuate as more tests are being processed. Whereas in Cambodia, a 38-year-old man in Siem Reap has been diagnosed with the coronavirus, becoming the first local person to contract the virus. He was one of 4 people tested and quarantined after having direct contact with a Japanese tourist who tested positive for the virus. The trial of 4 Russians accused of shooting down MH17 over the skies of Ukraine 6 years ago will finally begin on Monday in Amsterdam, Netherlands. The first week of trial is expected to be emotional for the family of the victims, as the names of the passengers and crew of MH17 will be read out. We spoke to New Straits Times executive editor Sophia Chok Swat-Ling, who's currently in Amsterdam to cover the trial, to get more insights.
Tomorrow, the MH17 trial will start at 5 p.m. Malaysian time at the heavily secured Schiphol Judicial Court Complex near Amsterdam. It is just next to the airport where MH17 took off close to 6 years ago on July 17, 2014 to Kuala Lumpur. On trial will be 4 suspects identified by the Netherlands Public Prosecution Service. They are Russians Igor Girkin, Sergei Dubinsky and Oleg Pulatov, and Ukrainian Leonid Karshenko. All 4 are not expected to be present in court tomorrow. Dutch investigators have issued international arrest warrants for the 4 and placed them on wanted lists, but did not issue extradition requests because this is not available under the Ukrainian or Russian constitutions. Of the 4, Pulatov will be represented. The first week of the trial will not deal with the substance of the case, but be largely procedural. The prosecution will lay out the exact charges and the future course of proceedings. All the names of the MH17 victims are also expected to be read out. This will mean a lot to the family members of victims. Malaysia is part of a Joint Investigative Team, or JIT, a criminal investigation team led by Dutch authorities and also comprising investigators from Australia, Belgium and Ukraine. JIT concluded in 2018 that the flight was shot down by a Russian Buk surface-to-air missile. The JIT identified the launch location as a field in eastern Ukraine, which at the time was in territory controlled by pro-Russian fighters. Moscow has repeatedly denied any involvement and criticized JIT's conclusions as openly biased and one-sided. The current format for the investigation and trial was chosen by the countries whose citizens died in the crash after Russia used its veto in July 2015 at the United Nations to block a draft resolution to set up an international tribunal into the MH17 air disaster. The case, which was officially assigned to the District Court of The Hague, had to be moved to the Schiphol Judicial Court Complex, as the Palace of Justice in The Hague, which is the usual venue for the District Court, is not equipped to accommodate proceedings of this scale. The Netherlands has an inquisitorial legal system where the court would be actively involved in investigating the facts of the case. This is different from Malaysia's adversarial system, in which the role of the court is primarily that of an impartial referee between the prosecution and the defense. Proceedings from tomorrow will be live streamed on website www.courtmh17.com in English and Dutch. This will be available on all hearing dates.
Thank you, Sophia. In Kedah, the body of a 34-year-old man believed to have been slashed to death by his stepbrother last Friday was found encased in a cement-filled plastic drum in Kepala Batas Alostar Sunday morning. State CID Chief Senior Assistant Commissioner Sapi Ahmad said the discovery was made in Kampung Padang Hassan following the arrest of a 24-year-old suspect at 7:30 a.m. According to authorities, they received information on the incident an hour earlier after the suspect had told his other brother about the incident, who then alerted the police prior to the arrest. Based on initial investigation, it was believed that the younger brother became angry at the victim for wearing a T-shirt, which was a gift from the suspect's girlfriend. This led to a quarrel between the two siblings before the younger man allegedly slashed the victim with a machete. The suspect then put the body into a plastic drum before filling it with cement and kept it behind the family's house. No other members of the family were at home during the incident. Police also said they seized a machete and a wheelbarrow from the scene. They have also sought assistance from the Fire and Rescue Department to extricate the body from the plastic drum. The remains were sent to Sultanah Bahia Hospital for post-mortem, and the case is being investigated under the Penal Code for murder. In Kedah, a babysitter was found murdered at her house in Taman Sutra, Idaman on Sunday. Police Chief Superintendent Shamsuddin Mamat said in the 7:30 a.m. incident, a man had come to the victim's house to drop off his child, but the babysitter, identified as Hazia Yop Osman, aged 58, did not answer the door. Suspecting something amiss, the man then called the police, who later discovered a woman lying face down on the floor next to a bed in the master bedroom. The body has been sent to Sultanah Bahia Hospital for post-mortem, and the case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code. The remaining 2.8 hectares of forest fire smouldering at the Kuala Langat Selatan Permanent Forest Reserve is expected to be fully extinguished in 3 days. Firefighters said as of 6 p.m. Saturday, they've succeeded in putting out the flames in 49.2 hectares that has been raging for the last 3 weeks. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency's bombardier CL-415 has also been helping by conducting water bombing exercises. After this break, Nightline's esports segment. Don't go away. We're back with Nightline's esports segment for the latest gaming news. This week, One Esports has arrived in Malaysia to host the regional qualifier for the DOTA 2 Jakarta Invitational. The event in Sunway Pyramid will see teams competing for a coveted prize pool, with the winners representing the region at the international grand finale. One Islam has the story.
Welcome to the esports segment with me, Wanizul Islam. I'm here at Sunway Pyramid in Petaling Jaya, Selangor, where the Malaysia Regional Qualifiers for Dota 2 is underway. The two-day event being held until Sunday will see 4 teams competing for a prize pool of $6,600 as well as a coveted spot for the finale at the One Esports Dota 2 Jakarta Invitational. Now, the 4 teams participating include 496 Gaming from Vietnam, who won the Vietnam Open qualifiers, defeating Team Impunity 2-0. The second team competing, Signal Ultra from Philippines, who won the Philippines Open qualifiers, coming back from one game down against LGD International to win 2-1. Thailand are sending a team, MS Chonburi, who won the Thailand Open qualifiers after defeating Unknown 2-0. And finally, the invited team with Malaysian players involved, Singapore's Reality Riff, who recently competed at the Dream League Season 13 of the Leipzig Major. Now, to tell us more about the event, let me introduce to you the CEO of One Esports, Carlos Alimurung. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Carlos, tell us a little bit more about the One Esports Dota to Jakarta Invitational.
Well, today what we have is actually in the middle of the stage of a larger competition. It culminates in about 5 or 6 weeks in Jakarta, where 12 teams will play for $500,000 US. Today, what you're seeing are 4 teams that have come from our online competition, and they'll be competing for around $6,000. So very exciting today. We've got some great exhilarating matches already, and it's been awesome.
All right, fantastic. So, Carlos, tell me a little bit more about why One Championship has decided to go into esports, created One Esports.
So One Championship, when you think about what it's done for martial arts, it's taken a sport that is been promoted and marketed in North America and in Europe kind of as a blood sport. But here in Asia, we've turned around that message to one about being positive, one about cultural values and heritage. And we believe that same level of storytelling is deserving here in esports. The stories of esports athletes, their hard work, their dedication, their diligence to becoming professional athletes in this sport, that story needs to be shared and celebrated throughout the world. And today what we're trying to do is elevate the Southeast Asia esports athlete and give them that opportunity to play on the world stage and prove that they deserve to compete with the world's best.
Fantastic. Definitely a wonderful thing coming from One Championship. Now, my final question, it's been a hiccup for all of us. COVID-19, you know that it's been around the world. Tell us, what are the measures being taken from One Esports to help with this issue, the COVID-19 issue, especially at events like such as these?
Yeah, so first of all, the mission of One Esports is to unleash upon the world esports athletes who instill strength, dreams, inspiration, and hope to the world. And so in trying times like this is exactly when we need these big, great events to get people together to celebrate, again, the hard work and the diligence of these esports athletes from this region. Now, with that said, we've taken the right precautions. As you today, when you walked in, what happened? You got your measurement, your temperature taken, there's hand sanitizer. We've been measuring everyone. Today, no one has been rejected, so it's been a very safe day, and we're really happy with the protocols and what we've done to keep everyone safe, our players, our fans, and also all the young men and women who are involved in executing this amazing event.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right. So there you have it from the CEO of One Esports themselves. That's all from myself, Muhyiddin Islam. Catch me again for the next episode of Esports Segment. We'll see you again soon.
Coming up after this break, scores dead in 18-vehicle collision. The details next. Do stay with us. We're back with news on the foreign front. In Syria, at least 32 people died after a fuel tanker crashed into 2 buses and several other vehicles on a road connecting Damascus to Homs province. According to authorities, initial investigations revealed that the accident could be caused by a malfunction in the tanker's brakes. The incident occurred after the driver of the tanker lost control of the vehicle before colliding with 2 convoy buses and 15 other passenger cars. At least 77 other people were injured in the incident. Victims of the crash are believed to include Shiite Iraqi pilgrims visiting holy shrines near the capital. Iraqi's Foreign Ministry spokesman Ahmad al-Sahnaf, meanwhile, described the crash as a regretful traffic accident and not a militant attack, despite such convoys having previously come under attack from armed militant groups. Next up, Trevor Simsby scores career's biggest victory and the Malaysian Open. Do stay tuned. We're back with sports news now. Golf, the 2020 Malaysian Open title. American golfer Trevor Simsby clinched his career's biggest victory by lifting the 55th Malaysian Open title after a dramatic two-hole playoff against Australian Andrew Dodd at Kota Permai Golf and Country Club on Sunday. After the third round was halted by inclement weather on Saturday, the play resumed on Sunday with Trevor carding 3 birdies and a bogey for a 2-under par 70 to tie 13-under par 203 with Dot and Jaron Todd in the 4.16 million ringgit tournament. The 27-year-old holed birdies in 2-hole playoffs at the 18th hole for the win and edged overnight leader Andrew Dot, who settled second after the latter carded even 5 in the second payoff. Another American, Todd, also finished second after failing to convert a birdie in the playoff. Following the win, Simsby walked away with 750,960 ringgit cash prize and a trophy presented by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin, while Dot and Todd received about 360,878 ringgit each. Now, before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's have a quick look at what's been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers this coming Monday, March 9th. The New Straits Times highlights the MH17 trial, which is expected to provide a form of closure and justice for the victims' families. The nation's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro, details the story of a man who killed his brother before dumping the body in a barrel and filling it with cement. And Berita Harian, meanwhile, focuses on the new cabinet lineup expected to be revealed Monday. And a report on how the government could lose up to 1/3 of oil revenue on price wars gets the front page of the Malaysian Reserve. Do get your copies today. A pyrotechnic ball roared through the Mexican town of Tultepec on Saturday as residents began to celebrate the National Pyrotechnic Festival that will last for 10 days. The annual and often dangerous event was held to celebrate and honor the patron saint of fireworks makers, San Juan de Dios. Let's have a quick look. I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for tuning in. Good night and take care.